So here's my PC, which is completely failed me after many years of service. It's been a fantastic machine. As you can see, I don't know if any of you guys still use DVD players or DVD drives, but I had a number of them in there. I've had to take out a couple of the covers here, broke off. The DVD drive, this I don't really no longer use, but it's failed. It's got the MSI gaming motherboard, which I suspect it's the motherboard that's failed, so hence I'm going to replace this case along with the motherboard, and one of the fans broke off as well. The CPU fan broke off, which I'll be showing you guys in a moment. So I've got quite a bit to do in terms of bringing this thing back to life. I'm not going to be using this case, as I'll show you the case that I'll be using in a moment. And I'll be replacing the motherboard, as I said. I suspect it's the motherboard that has failed. I hope it's not my CPU, but we'll find out in a little while. Yeah, so this machine, I've had this for a good at least 5 years or so, maybe a little bit longer. It's done a fantastic job. I'll post the full specs in the comment section. IONZ, I found this on eBay. It was £45. In dollars, it's about $60, I guess, around that sort of figure. But I'll be using this case to be holding my components. So yeah, let's unbox this and take a look inside. Okay, so here's the case. Now, first impressions, it's really nice and sleek. I like black. Black is my preferred choice of case in terms of color. Inside the box, there was this little filter here, which will go on top, and this is to prevent any dust or anything like that settling in on the top of the case there and getting into the internal parts of the actual computer. So it's got a couple of screws here, which will be unscrewing, 4 screws. Once we unscrew those 4 screws, I'll be taking off this panel, and then obviously we'll be getting to work in terms of connecting everything up internally. So looks very sleek. The fans light up. If I just turn it around, sorry, it's quite close because I'm limited for space here. I'm using a small desk and the space is quite limited. These fans at the front light up. I think they come a rainbow color. We'll have a look at this later on. And as you can see at the top, we've already got our USB 3 and our 2 USB ports, USB 2 ports, audio and headphones and microphone jacks, as well as the reset button and the power button. So I'm quite happy with the design of this case, and we will now get to the other my other computer, my old one up here. We'll open it up and we'll start dismantling and disconnecting things to make sure we get all the components out and start migrating them over to their new home, which is this new case. Okay, so we've taken the top off, or the panel off of my old PC. This is the one that's going to be thrown away, this old case. And as you can see, I've actually crammed in quite a bit into here. This disc was quite big, so I actually couldn't fit it into there. So I just left this laying on the side. So I need to remove the hard disks. I've got a number of SSDs in there, which I need to remove. I need to remove this DVD drive, which I don't use. I can actually remove this from the front. As you can see, it's coming out from the front here, which will get rid of that. Yep, we can pull that out and just leave that to the side. It's not something that I really use. So the motherboard that I've purchased from eBay again, which I'm going to be replacing with this one, is this exact same model. I could have gone for a different motherboard, but due to budgeting constraints, as well as making sure that I've got a motherboard that supports my CPU as well as my RAM type, that was a crucial thing for me. So I actually went and bought the same motherboard for a decent price, and now I'm going to be taking this one out, swapping in the other one, and once I take that out and swap in the other one, I'm hoping, obviously I bought it from eBay and it did say it's working, I'm hoping that motherboard will be working fine, and then we can move all our components onto the new motherboard. But anyway, for now, I'm going to unscrew the graphics card, and then I'm going to remove the RAM, then the fan, CPU fan, power supply, and then hopefully get down to the motherboard and so forth, remove the discs and so forth. So let's just get on with doing that. So firstly, I'll get rid of the hard disks, take the discs out. That's my 6TB Western Digital drive, which I store, kind of back up my data onto, which is it's actually a server storage device, hard disk, but it does work perfectly fine, and the speeds actually are quite good. With my SSDs, let's disconnect the cables here. First SSD out. Let's get the second SSD out. There we are. And we'll get the third one out, which I believe is the main. Is my main one. Let me have a look. This is, yeah, this SanDisk one I believe is mine. So I've got 480 gig one, which I can't see from underneath right now. I think this cover's covering the size of it, but it's, yeah, I've got a 960 and a 480. The 481 is my OS drive, and the 961 I used to use as backup, because obviously SSDs are quite significantly faster than the standard drives, so I use that for my backup. Cool. So we've disconnected that. I'll get all these cables out in a second. Let's get rid of this graphics card for now. Unscrew that. In fact, we can leave that in place for now because that's loose. Disconnect the graphics card, which I will need to release this little clip here. Sometimes these clips can be quite tight, so you've got to be a little bit firm. Sorry, I'm holding my camera with one hand while trying to obviously remove components. So yeah, there's a little clip, that one down there, as you can see, which sometimes can get stuck. You need to just push that down if you're removing the graphics card. I've got the AMD 5 Pro W5100. Put that to the side. Okay, now my CPU fan, this actually needed replacing because this one, as you can see, I've already disconnected it. This fan is failed, the clips. So that's my thermal paste on there for cooling the CPU the CPU itself. Yeah, this one failed. So as you can see, the clips, I don't know if I could zoom into this, but these clips are broken. Like this one here, for example, it's damaged. So it wasn't holding on. This one here is completely broken. Again, completely broken. So when the PC, the tower's standing up, the fan would just literally fall off and hang off, so the CPU wouldn't heat, and the PC started turning itself off. Obviously, as soon as the CPU detects a little bit of overheating, your PC just shuts down. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the CPU in there for now, because I don't want to take that out for now, and I will, and all these other little bits, these fans and stuff that came with the case, I'll just leave those in there. I'll disconnect this main power supply connector. Here we are, that's disconnected. Okay, a few other connectors here as well for the power, which will disconnect. Trying to do this while recording at the same time is a bit of a challenge, so I may need to put the camera down to really yank these out. Yep. Okay, in fact, I'll just quickly show you how to disconnect the RAM, and then I'll put the camera down, and what I'll do is I'll start disconnecting these, and we'll come back to just the empty motherboard with nothing connected to it. So let's disconnect the RAM. Just release the little clips that hold the RAM in. So I've got 32 gig of RAM. I've got 4 8GB sticks. Just remove that. Remove this guy. Remove the other one. And remove the final one. There we are. I'm going to need to clean that thermal paste off of the CPU later on as well, and apply some new thermal paste. Once we place it into its new motherboard, what other bits can we take off while I'm actually holding the camera. So disconnect that cable right there. Right, so these are the only ones left, which I will need to put the camera down for, and then I'll come back. And then what we'll do is we'll unscrew the power supply, take all these components out, and all these little wires that you can see here, take all of these out. So I'll just put that down and we'll come back. So as you can see, it's almost empty now, and what we've done is we've taken out all the internal components. I need to take off this fan, which has a few screws at the back, and then take out the motherboard, take out my CPU, and then we're going to move over to getting in the new replacement motherboard. But what I wanted to show you was this fan right here. This is my power supply, and that's the fan on the power supply. And look at the amount of dust that's gathered. This is why you should always regularly check the inside of your computer. Even with your laptops, this can build up. And regularly dust it down with an air duster and one of those dust-free cloths, just so you can make sure that this type of dust doesn't build up and potentially start a fire within your computer. So I'm going to come off the camera again. We're going to disconnect that fan, and then we're going to disconnect the motherboard, and we're going to get rid of this case and put it to one side and start working on putting the new motherboard, or the replacement one. It's not new, it's actually second-hand, the replacement motherboard inside the new case. So let's do that. Okay, so we've removed the glass panel from the new case. The old one I've taken out because I've taken the power supply out. As you saw, I've taken the motherboard out, my CPU's out. In fact, if I can grab the CPU while you're looking here, here is the CPU that I've got. As you can see, it's an Intel i7 4790K. Yeah, at 4 gigahertz. It's a very good processor. I think it's the 4th gen, but anyway, it does the job for me, because a good processor along with some good SSD and some decent RAM, you will not need to upgrade your machine for a while. So I don't need to buy a new processor. Anyhow, some components that come with the new case, which I've got here. There are bits that will be used to connect the motherboard and other parts. What else have we got in here? Got some connectors for some other bits that connect to the motherboard. As you can see in here, and the cables go underneath. Alright, so we're going to get started with our motherboard, then we'll put the power supply in, and then we'll start connecting up the other components. So let's do that. So what I'll do is I'll need to put the camera down, I'll put the motherboard in, show you, put the other components in, start showing you bit by bit, and that's how we're going to do this. Cool. So I'll see you once the motherboard is in. So here we are, finally, after some time and a lot of screws being screwed on and little components and parts being installed with the new MSI Gaming 5. I say new, it's second-hand MSI replacement motherboard. Got our CPU in there with a new fan and a cooling, a new fan and a new heatsink. That's replacement parts. Motherboard's a replacement part. Everything else is from my old PC, which you saw earlier on. So what we've got here, two SSDs. So one of them is 960 gig, the other one is 480 gig, and then I don't know if you can see right in there, just behind here, let's see if you can see behind there, yep, that little barcode or QR code, that is the 6 terabyte hard disk that I showed you earlier on. So everything's in place, RAM is in place, CPU is in place, fans are all connected, all the components are connected. In fact, let's see, the power supply is in. What else we've got here? Graphics card is in, turned on the power, and I've connected the display, 2 monitors that I've got here, and we've got some power coming up. So it's the moment of truth. Let's see if we turn this thing on. Okay, as you can see, it's powered on, the fans are running, the keyboard's come on, and it should now start booting up. There we are. So as I suspected, sorry, the motherboard was faulty. The old replacement one has been taken out. Obviously the new one is working. I've got fewer hard disks in there now, as I mentioned. I had a lot more in the previous case, But as you can see, there you go, it's all up and running. And only one problem I've come across, which I'm going to fix at some point, and that is the fans not lighting up. As you can see, this case is supposed to have the fans light up. I think because the fans are not getting enough power, they're not lighting up, but that's not a problem right now. That's something I can fix at some point later on, but that is the new machine up and running. So all the lights are working on the fans. I was having a bit of an issue with the lights on the fan, so I managed to find I managed to get the user manual. Very important whenever you buy a case, get the user manual from whoever you bought it from. So when I purchased it, there was no user manual in the box. So yes, managed to get hold of the user manual from the supplier and managed to get the lights working. So that's all functioning as we expect. So in order to change the lights are on the fan are connected to the reset button on the top here. So this little reset button now controls the light. So if I press the reset button, let me just press the reset button. If I push that down, I should be able to change the color. As you can see, that's changed to a different color. And if I push it down again, just move back a bit and push that down. There you go, that's changed again. See how many colors this thing's got. It's got the white and light purple. The red, I like red. The red and black I think really looks good together. I don't prefer the blue. But yeah, so it's just changing. And then you've got various sort of changing modes that you can keep switching between. But I like the red. Red's my favorite. Red and black, I think that looks really cool. And yeah, so there you go. It's all working, all functioning. We've got rid of the old motherboard and everything is up and running as expected. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please do like, subscribe and share, and I look forward to seeing you in the next session. Take care.